A hypothetical trade suggested that the Chicago Bulls would trade Nikola Vucevic over to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for Luke Kennard and Ziaire Williams. In today's video, we are going to be talking about this trade and if this would be a good trade scenario for the Chicago Bulls, along with a better suggested trade if the Chicago Bulls would use the Memphis Grizzlies as a trade partner. This is Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into it, wanted to let you know that 75.7% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. Let's go ahead and jump into the first part of the video, which is Vucevic trade that should have happened. All right, guys. And so that's a huge question mark here. So this comes on the heels of Bleacher Report, and they have suggested 10 trades that teams would possibly look to perhaps execute on this offseason. And they have mentioned Vooch going over to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for Luke Kennard and then also to a young Ziaire Williams. And so we're going to break down this trade and why the Memphis Grizzlies would make this trade and also why the Chicago Bulls would do this. And also too, what is another suggested trade that we could possibly look at here. So let's take a look. You can find this under Grizzlies move Jaren Jackson Jr. back to the 4, which is the power forward position. And this is what it had to say, paraphrasing here. But Steven Adams, all right, he had a surgery and was eventually traded, which allowed the Memphis Grizzlies big man Jaren Jackson Jr. to play a bit of the 5 often here this past seasons. Injuries across the rest of the Grizzlies roster, including star guard Ja Morant, gave Jackson more opportunities to explore his scoring game, but his natural fit is the 4, and that is what he would actually prefer to play. It says that Jackson doesn't seem like he'll ever be an above average rebounder relative to the other centers. He is also more effective defensively when he is a bullier big, so a little bit bigger than the guys that he's guarding, and takes the post presence while he's allowed to roam. So he wants a little bit more space to roam, and he wants to bully some other bigs and not the 5s that he's been facing here. So Vooch would be a better fit for this situation for the Memphis Grizzlies. Essentially, he's going to check a couple of the boxes here. He's going to be able to help Jaren Jackson Jr. move back to his natural 4 position, and he's going to obviously move into the starting 5. He is also a big that likes to shoot. He made a respectable 35.9% of his triples over the 3 seasons prior to this one. That could also give Morant a little bit more of a driving lane. Also, what was stated in this article is that it is saying that the price may seem steep, but losing Kennard is not really that big of a deal, especially since for the Grizzlies, they have Vince Williams Jr. and then also to G.G. Jackson, and Ziaire Williams is effectively pretty much equivalent to a 2nd round pick in this deal. All right, so a lot to unpack here. So I think that they're right on with saying that, you know, Memphis would need a big. I have been saying that a couple times on the channel that Memphis is in the market for a big, and I think that one of Ja Morant's better seasons and one of the Memphis Grizzlies' better seasons is when they had bigs, all right? And so last year they didn't have Brandon Clark due to, I think, a ACL injury or something like that. They obviously moved on from Steven Adams. He was having knee issues, and Steven Adams was an enforcer in there as well. And so you're not going to get that type of enforcer mentality with Vooch, but he is going to be able to go out there and get some rebounds for you. I know that we're disappointed, even though he averaged 18 and 10. Our team statistically was not as good as it should have been with him being on the floor, but perhaps This will open it up for the Memphis Grizzlies. Perhaps they're able to use his skill set a little bit more, and it blends a little bit more with their playing style than what we needed him to do. So, and I'm not saying that Steven Adams was necessarily a banger. He was more of a guy that he did a lot of the pick and rolls. He was able to finish off the pick and rolls, and he would get physical with you down low on the defensive end and frustrate you, and he absolutely would grab rebounds. And so, I think that they're just counting on the fact that they can pull some bigs away from the basket and will allow Jaren Jackson Jr. and also John Morant to operate a little bit more in space, and they believe in their young talent. So I think that this makes sense for Memphis. I think they can go out there and get them some more bigs, either in free agency or perhaps in a draft pick situation. Now, on top of that, with the Bulls, obviously we move on from a guy that has been disappointing since he has signed that deal with us. It looks like he is definitely on a decline, and this would help us rebuild. We obviously have already talked about going big with the 11th pick in the draft, and so this would certainly help us as far as going ahead and making that 11th pick a lot easier. I'm big on going ahead and getting a guy like Zach Edey. I think he would be terrific for us at this point in time. So, look, I think we could definitely go ahead and move on from Vooch. We could pick up Edey. We could also, too, think about maybe bringing back Drummond as well. I know it's going to be a little bit more costly, but perhaps he might be our starter until we can bring Edey along, or vice versa. So I'm not sure what we do there, but that definitely opens it up for us doing something at the center position. On top of that, man, I just think that when I look at this trade, Memphis they need a big, all right? And so I think when you're a team that is in need of something, I think that we could get more out of this deal, especially since Luke Kennard, I'm not sure if he's going to be on contract or he's already off contract or what that situation looks like for Memphis moving forward. But I don't even think that he's necessarily tied to them. But I think that the Bulls could do something a lot better with this. And I think that they could maybe turn it into a pick if they don't keep the players that I'm suggesting here. So I'm going to bring up the suggested trade that I have for the Chicago Bulls here, which is we would trade Vooch. We'd also trade Javon Carter over, but we would get Marcus Smart and Zaire Williams here. And I think that, look, Marcus Smart is a terrific player, and he is absolutely a great defender. I know we already have some guards in Kobe White, and we also have it in Nasumu, but I am not really sold on the fact that we are going to have Lonzo Ball for the remainder of next season. I'm not sure if that knee is going to come back to form. He talked about a pretty gruesome rehab and the things that he's had to go through with his knee, and the fact that the knee has been an issue since his Laker days. I'm not sure if it is going to work there. And I feel like Marcus Smart brings a championship mentality to us. Can you imagine if we have him and Caruso in the lineup at once? They are going to cause an absolute terror, especially if we bring back Javonte Green. So I love the fact that we get tougher, and we can also go bigger in the draft, and we can also look at that in the free agency as well. I love the fact that we would get Zaire Williams over here. I like him. That's fine that they put him as possibly a second round pick. I think that he's more developed than, say, a Dellen Terry or Julian Phillips, but they are going to come along. I think he can certainly show the way. I think he's going to be an absolute great rotational piece for us. And I think that even if we bring Marcus Smart over, who is another guard, if we feel like we're too guard heavy, we might be able to float him out there to another team, either get some picks to somebody that feels like they can contend right now, or we can flip that for another player or draft pick. Who knows? But I think we can get more out of this Memphis Grizzlies team, especially since they need a big guy. So Let me know what you guys think in the comments here. Like, do we go and do we make this trade that was suggested in Bleacher Report, or do you like the trade that I have suggested where we bring back a little bit of defense here? We get rid of a guard that didn't necessarily work for us. I think he works a little bit better over in Memphis as a backup guard there for them. Probably gets a lot more minutes and is not going to be buried like he was on our bench. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Otherwise, man, for the first time, I just think that, like I say a lot of times, it's always go Bulls, man. But I just think that we are going round and round. Do you guys think that we're going to go round and round like the merry-go-round here? And we're not going to trade anybody. We're not going to do anybody. We're not going to fire anybody. Like, we're just going to stay on the merry-go-round. What do you guys think? This is Rico, Bulls Digest. And as usual, even though we're going around on the merry-go-round, go Bulls. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.